Hello and welcome to yet another insightful session at Parenting Summit 2024. Today's topic touches on an ever present and significant challenge faced by teenagers navigating peer pressure, how parents can guide teens through social challenges. To explore this crucial subject, we are honored to have with us Dr. Neeta Bali, Director Academics at MVN School, Faridabad. With her profound expertise in academic leadership and her passion for empowering young minds, Dr. Bali has been a guiding force in helping students thrive, not just academically, but emotionally and socially as well. In today's conversation, we will try and identify strategies for supporting teens and as they navigate the complexity of peer dynamics while staying true to their values. Let's dive right in and hear from Dr. Bali. Welcome, ma'am, to Parenting Summit 2024.
Thank
It's
you
an
so
honor.
much. Thank you. My pleasure too. My
Yes,
pleasure.
ma'am. Right. So, ma'am, before we start, I would request if you can briefly introduce yourself, as all our listeners would love to hear a little bit more about you.
Sure, sure. So my name is Neeta Bali. I have been in education for over a period of 40 years. Initially started as a teacher in a wonderful school called Materday in Delhi as a head of department. Subsequently, of course, switched to an administrative role. Worked with APJ School Noida as vice principal. Subsequently, 12 years as principal and director with the international school, Jirigo and World School. Headed it for 12 years. Intermittently, also headed a residential school called Kasiga in Dehradun, a Podar school in Mumbai, in Powai, and then switched to the Jaipuriya Group as the director of all their schools pan India. And my current role is that of director academics for three large MVN schools. That's Modern Vidyaniketan schools in Faridabad. Well, that's my career trajectory. Of course, I'm a trained counselor. I've been dealing with children in the classroom, outside the classrooms. I'm a teacher trainer, um, and of course, a career counselor as well. Those are things after my own heart. So this is what my career trajectory has been like. So I hope that should suffice, Shaju.
Yes, ma'am, it's wonderful to know a little bit more about you. Great, ma'am. So let's start with today's topic. Ma'am, why is peer pressure such a powerful influence on teenagers, and how does it impact their decision making?
Shaju, I would say when we say peer pressure and teenagers, I would say peer pressure per se is not just for teenagers. There are adults also
Very
who
right,
feel
ma'am.
very pressured and feel that they must live a certain lifestyle, that they
Hmm.
must accomplish what their colleagues have accomplished, or their friends or their relatives have accomplished.
True,
So
ma'am.
it's a malady, not just confined to the teens, it's very pervasive. But
Hmm.
having said that, I would definitely emphasize that the teens, uh, they're much younger, they're more vulnerable, they're more emotionally charged. So they are obviously affected much more, compared to adults.
Right.
Now, I would say that peer pressure is like, a huge menace looming large
Hmm.
over the heads of children. When they
Hmm.
watch their peers coming from families which are affluent,
Hmm.
uh, coming in, driving cars which are expensive, living
Hmm.
in upmarket,
Areas.
accommodation
Right.
areas, and wearing certain kind of branded clothing.
Hmm.
Uh, they always have this inherent fear that they should not be left out.
Right.
Nobody wants to be rejected. I think the desire to be accepted is absolutely inherent in human nature because that human beings are a gregarious species. So you want to be accepted. You want other people to know you. You want other people to acknowledge you, accept you, appreciate you. So when we know this, how can we not expect the young people who are very vulnerable and definitely their maturity levels may not be such that they can withstand this kind of pressure to be accepted. As I
Yes,
said,
ma'am.
nobody really wants to be left out.
Right.
Nobody wants to be rejected. Um,
Right.
so there is this desire to be accepted. And if you're not, and
Hmm.
you're alienated, it can lead to a host of other problems. As I said, if
Right.
you're alienated and almost ostracized because you don't dress in a certain way, you don't speak in a certain way, you don't live in a certain upmarket colony, and you don't go in a certain car, then
Hmm.
almost ostracized. And that can
Right.
wreak havoc with their mental health.
So, ma'am,
So,
this brings to the next question, which is like, how can parents identify when their teen is struggling with, negative peer pressure? And what are some of the signs they should look out for?
yeah, yeah. I think first thing first, the signs will be the angst and anger.
Hmm.
All right.
Right.
The angst and anger, which they may express tangibly or intangibly through
Okay.
gestures, through
Hmm.
words.
Right.
Sometimes they will lash out at parents.
Hmm.
Possibility
Mm.
is, they will tell their parents, why is it that everybody else can provide for their children and you're not able to provide for me? So they may
Right.
lash out. There will
Hmm.
be outbursts. That's the first sign. There will be
Hmm.
outbursts. That's the first sign. I would say also another sign is withdrawing from, whenever you have a family get together, withdrawing from that family get together and pretending that you don't belong because you belong to another community of peers, withdrawing
Right.
from
Hmm.
family gatherings. Um, when children become unusually quiet, that's really alarming because that's the biggest yellow alert. When I would say they clam up. When children clam up, that's a horrible sign because it's all right to lash out. It's all right to, you know,
Went out.
be rude with your parents, but when you are quiet, that can
Hmm.
get terribly dangerous
Very
because
true.
then there is a lot of pent up emotion
Right.
and there's nobody to address.
Hmm.
The last thing I would say is when they don't want to speak to anyone, when you don't
Hmm.
want to speak to anyone about what you're going through,
Hmm.
when they are receptive to an adult, to a peer or a parent or a sibling, particularly older siblings, when they're receptive to talking and they start talking, that's a very positive sign. So we need to create a safe space for young people to
Right.
express their anger, their angst, their agony, their distress.
Hmm.
And some of us as parents just dismiss this distress as, imaginary. It is not imaginary at all. It is, believe you me, it is not imaginary at all. And it can lead to a more deep seated problem of depression. It
Right.
can gradually and it can affect. And with that will also come a decline in
Hmm.
your academic performance.
Right.
Resistance to going to school. Sometimes the absenteeism from school will start
Hmm. Hmm.
because you don't want to go and be laughed at. You don't want to be the center of mockery. You don't want to be the center of ridicule.
Right.
So you would want to stay away. Now,
Right.
I would say these when absenteeism starts,
Hmm.
excuses start. I don't want to go to school for this and this and this reason. I think that again is a yellow alert
Right,
that
ma'am.
the
So,
child is,
yes,
grappling
yes,
with the problem.
correct, ma'am. So these are yellow signs which one should, pick as early as possible as a
Yeah.
parent,
I
right,
call
ma'am?
them yellow alerts. I always
Hmm.
tell parents whenever you see a yellow alert, get
Action.
ready to take action. And
Right,
action
ma'am.
has to be, let me tell you also, Shaju, uh,
Hmm.
taking action is yet another challenge for parents.
Right.
Challenge, I would say, because action has to be non judgmental.
Very true.
Action has to be uh, unintrusive. See, moment they feel that you are intruding into their lives, they will push you away. It has to be non-judgmental, it has to be unintrusive, it has to be done in a very subtle manner, and the most important is that we need to focus more on listening, not
Very
talking.
important point, ma'am. Yes. Yes. Very important
Listening,
point. Hmm.
active listening, active listening, and no sermonizing. I
Right.
can I can vouch for it when we as parents start to sermonize
Hmm.
and we tell our children, I know better than you, that's that.
Hmm.
There will be a wall between you and the kid. So
Right.
please stop pretending that you are Miss Know All or Mr. Know All as a parent.
Right, right. So, ma'am,
All right.
taking it further, what role does self-esteem play in, resisting peer pressure, and how can parents help their teens build a strong sense of self?
I would say some other things that we could do. First, that I said, listen to your children. All right, listen to your children. Try and find out what is it that's bothering them.
Hmm.
Let's say, a particular child says that, why is it that I'm not wearing branded clothing? Why is it
Hmm.
that you can't afford branded clothing for me when everybody else's parents are okay and they can afford?
Hmm.
You need to let them know that simply by wearing branded clothing, you don't become any better. You need to find something that makes you stand out. You're
Right.
not a part of the herd. So you have to ask them these thought provoking questions. Do you want to be a
Mhm.
part of the herd
Yes.
or do you want to stand out?
So, second important point is start open communication.
Yes,
Ask
start
questions,
an
try to
open
understand, make
communication.
them
Yeah,
think
yeah,
through.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Very true. Very true.
So when you tell them why fit in, there is this beautiful line which I wrote, why fit in when you can stand out,
Wow. Wonderful.
right?
Right,
Let's
ma'am.
tell our children why fit in when you can stand out because you're
Hmm.
capable of standing out. Let's find out what is it that will make you extraordinary, which will
Hmm.
make you stand out so that your peers may want to emulate you.
Right.
Let's get our kids to find something within themselves.
Hmm.
A
Right.
latent spark only waiting to be kindled into a fire.
Right.
Let me give you an example from my own personal life, all
Hmm.
right? If I may, with your permission.
Sure, sure. Please, ma'am.
I have a daughter who's now, 35, 36.
Hmm.
Now, this child, when I was a teacher, she realized that it was not possible for me to buy her expensive branded clothing.
Hmm.
There were times when you were given books which were used by colleagues' children.
Correct.
All right. Because that those days we never spoke about recycling, but
Hmm.
we valued what our friends gave us. There were
That is true.
beautiful dresses that came from abroad.
Hmm.
Some child wore and then outgrew, and then all our teachers at the table would decide, now, I've got these beautiful five dresses my kid has worn it for, two, three times. So see
Hmm.
whose kid can fit into it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes. So that was another generation, those children, um, really, it really never mattered to them how that it was not a new dress. How am
Hmm.
I going to look because somebody else has worn it? My child never went to uh, a mall. She preferred the local markets. She said the local markets are more fun.
Hmm.
Okay. So why are we going in this sanitized environment? I prefer this because I can have so much fun. My
Hmm.
child preferred to go to Jama Masjid to pick up old book in a book bazaar.
Right.
Okay. So today, when I look at my kid, she has a
Hmm.
very clear set of values. And of course, something that helped her immensely. And I would say this to parents, promote sports.
Hmm.
Get your kids to get into sports. Sports are a great source of discipline and go a long way in building children's self esteem. My
Hmm.
child is a martial artist.
Hmm.
Uh, with Shotokan karate and has done three black belts and then became a kickboxer and is a
Wonderful.
rider. I mean, this year she's a rider and is doing 200, 2,000, 3,000 kilometers, has done some of the highest terrains in India.
Hmm.
And that is what makes her unique, makes me so proud.
Right.
Ask them to find something which is uniquely their own,
Hmm.
which the others may not have the courage to do. And when they find that value, I think then they couldn't be bothered what kind of clothes they wear,
Hmm.
how others perceive them. They're okay with it. They're
Right.
okay with it.
Right. So,
So
ma'am, this brings to the next part, which just to try to understand, in your opinion, when and how should parents address the topic of peer pressure with their teens? I mean, should it be a continuous conversation or it should be a situational? How do you see it?
I would say situational.
Okay.
Yeah. Children grow at their own pace. We talk about differentiated learning.
Mhm.
Then why not differentiated parenting?
Okay,
Right?
that's an important point you have raised, twice.
Differentiated parenting.
Mhm.
Today, my kid has come back from Canada,
Mhm.
wants to spend time with his friends, doesn't seem to be suffering from a jet lag,
Mhm.
wants to spend time with his friends, not so much with us. We completely understand because
Mhm.
you have come from abroad. You want to be with younger people, who have also come from abroad. You want to
Mhm.
talk about your experiences
Right.
and you want to see their side of the story.
Mhm.
And that probably gives you much more solace. If he were to sit with us, of course, we will look after him and love him and give him the best food and
Right.
comfort him. And
Mhm.
well, at this point of time, he needs that more than this. He
Mhm.
doesn't need
Right.
this solace so much. He needs
Mhm.
time with his friends. So it's
Mhm.
all right. It has to be very carefully done, differentiated. All
Okay.
right. So it's not
Mhm.
that I devise a strategy and I say, okay, you are there to this. It's either
Mhm.
my way or highway. Doesn't work like that
Okay.
anymore.
Mhm. So it has to be situational, seeing the
Situational.
requirement, then only. It doesn't have to
Yes.
be a
Yes.
regular kind of an
No,
yes,
no.
yes, yes. Ma'am, now if you try to understand from a school point of view, so what initiative does your school have in place to educate students about handling peer pressure and making, independent choices?
What we are doing in our school is we have counselors in place.
Mm-hmm.
These counselors have been requested to take sessions and
Mm-hmm.
group sessions with children. So, in those group sessions, such topics are very clearly identified, and
Mm-hmm.
I intend to intensify them a little more. Being a counselor myself, I will
Mm-hmm.
be doing that in the next few months. So, I
Okay.
want the counselors to identify topics
Mm-hmm.
and address the children. And
Mm-hmm.
then, more than that, I'm not so much interested in somebody standing on a pedestal and talking down to the kids. I
Mm-hmm.
want kids to talk. All right. So, I want kids to talk. So, we will have to have brainstorming uh, and children, allowing children a safe space where they can freely express what they want. If it
Mm-hmm.
is anger, let's listen, let's look at that anger. If it's they're experiencing they're experiencing some kind of angst
Mm-hmm.
and pain, we want to experience that pain. Unless you see it surface, you see, if it's pent up, it can
Mm-hmm.
be very dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like a wound. Unless you cleanse the wound, it will not heal,
Very
right?
true. Very true.
So
Yes.
I'm just waiting for this. The next few sessions that I do, maybe I'll ask you to come in, Shaju, and look at the session and give me a feedback because
Sure,
this is
ma'am.
how I mean to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe give it a great name. I don't know. You could recommend a name you could give it because I want a lot of noise and I want children to talk. My
Yes,
thing is
ma'am.
not
It's
the
very,
counselor talking. I want the
yes,
children to talk.
yes. It is very important these days, having, these teens getting that confidence that they can open up is
Yeah,
a very important thing.
yeah, yeah.
We always say, ki, okay, listen to us, do this, do that. But at the same time, because they are going through so
Shaju, the
many,
stage thing is that some of these
Mhm.
children who are extremely, extremely bright academically,
Right?
we don't know what's simmering under the surface. You just don't know what's simmering under the surface.
Yes, ma'am. Very important point.
And the moment you give them that opportunity, I can vouch the moment they're given this opportunity to say, speak,
Hmm.
nobody's judging you. They will
Right,
speak up.
right.
Many of them are under pressure to perform
Mm,
because my father, my school, my teacher wants me to go to an IIT.
mm.
I mean, there sometimes I feel pained when I see faces of such children are deadpan faces, deadpan faces.
Yes, ma'am.
So I am going to do this. So I'm going to
Hmm.
think of a nice name. I really don't
Hmm.
know what to call it. Probably I'll
Right,
speak to you and think
definitely.
of a nice name where we can have all hell let loose. Let children talk.
Right. Ma'am, now before we close, if you have to give one, one suggestion to parents that how can they, model positive behavior that encourage teens to resist negative peer influence and build a healthy relationship.
Yeah. Uh, Shaju, first thing first, we as parents, when we say we are our children's friends,
Hmm.
let me tell you, children are not looking for friends in us. They're not
Okay.
looking for friends in us. They're looking for a role model.
Mm.
So it's some strange fallacy that we live in when we say our children are our friends. They are not. You're an
Mm.
adult and you have to be their role model. You may behave in a friendly manner, but you cannot be a friend. So uh, the
That's a very
important thing
important
is,
point, ma'am, that you can be friendly with your teens
yeah,
or
but you
children.
can't be
You
friends.
can never be a friend. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
they're not looking for friends. They're not looking for. They may not say it. Important that you're a great role model. One,
Hmm.
you must never create. You must your relationship should not be acrimonious in front of your children. If it is camouflage, if you and your wife or your husband we're not happy together, the couple are not happy together, and they have differences of opinion within the hearing of the children, do not bicker or quarrel or shout or hit. The impact of this is so deep lasting. I mean, I've come across so many cases, it has completely jeopardized their adult life. Such children who are exposed to this kind
Hmm.
of violent behavior in childhood are never able to forge happy relationships with their spouses because this is what they have learned.
Oh.
It has seeped into their subconscious. They start distrusting other people.
Mm.
So that's one. Two, as I said, always be there to support them and give them unstinting support and say, you will always, I'm always here for you. And just don't worry. The
Hmm.
love that I feel articulated, the love that I feel for you is unconditional.
Hmm.
And I don't value you because you are an excellent academic performer or a musician or a dancer or a player or a sports person. Love them unconditionally. You are my child. I love you
Right.
unconditionally. Let
Right,
them
ma'am.
know. Third,
Very important.
third, I would say manifest, let your love manifest through a hug. A hug can go a long, long way in comforting people. Just a touch and a hug can go a long, long way in comforting children. They are, grown up boys, 6 feet tall. My own is such. Last
It
night
doesn't
wanted to
matter.
sleep in my bed. Can I sleep with you? It's all
Yes.
right. You can't
Yes.
stay. No, you're so tall. You're 6 feet tall. You can't
Yes,
sleep on
ma'am.
my bed.
They're always going to be your child,
So you
whether
have
they
to
are.
let them know, I will always
Yes.
have your back. I
Right,
will
ma'am.
always have your back. But define boundaries. Last thing.
Hmm.
Define boundaries. Where money is concerned, you may spend this much, you're being given this much. I shall not give you more. Please be
Hmm.
mindful. Define boundaries. You may speak in such and such manner. You may not shout at me. I will not be listening. I'll turn a deaf ear. Define boundaries very clearly.
Right.
Do
Important.
not allow. Let me tell you that children can pull your strings.
Hmm.
Do not allow them to pull your strings.
They are capable of. Yes, ma'am. That
I
was
hope that
wonderful, ma'am.
somewhat
Yes,
answers your
that
question.
great, ma'am. Thanks a lot for, shedding light on this deeply relevant topic. Your insight has provided parents, I hope, with a roadmap to navigate the challenges of peer pressure and to empower their teens to make confident, independent choices. To all our listeners, remember that peer pressure is a universal experience for teens, but with the right support, it can be turned into an opportunity for growth. Let us continue to foster open communication and trust with our teens, guiding them to navigate these challenges will with resilience and self-awareness. And as Nan said, why fit in when you can
When you
stand
can
out?
stand out.
Yes. So thank you for joining in this session of Parenting Summit 2024. Stay connected for more transformative discussions that are redefining parenting and teen education. Take care and see you. Thanks a lot, ma'am, for taking out time and
Thank
sharing
you.
your invaluable insights. It's always a pleasure talking to you, ma'am.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to having more.
Thank you.
Right, ma'am? Thank you.